a 40 kilowatt system. It's on a hog barn, and I guess we've been, just under a month of it so far, so been happy with it.
I'm Clark Ott. Installed a 7.65 kilowatt system last May. We paid about $10 a month connection fee until last month. We had to pay $170. And this month was $140, but it's going to keep going down again. So I was paying $191 as an even cost with Alliant. And and I got a mortgage for it, but the mortgage is $186, so it's pretty close to what the mortgage itself cost. It's pretty close to what my electrical costs were, and so when it's paid off, it'll all be pretty close to being free energy for me.
And that's on what? What did you install that on?
It's a ground mount frame, 30 panels.
Or residential?
Oh, it's residential here. Oh, I also put in geothermal 2 years earlier, and that jumped my electrical up to $191.
Does anyone have questions for these guys that got a system in? We're going to talk maybe some more finances later.
Hey, Mark. How long do you think it'll actually start turning for you in your particular situation?
It'll be about 7 to 8 years for payback.
I guess that's been,
If I did it 2 years earlier, Alliance still had the rebates, it would have been about 5 years.
yeah. Because if a lot of are quoting 5 to 6, so I wanted to see real world opinion.
Mine's about the same. I'm looking for 10 years or less.
Okay, well,
Ryan, how much did you have invested in your 40,000?
In our 40 kilowatt system, it's about $733 a panel, and we have 159 panels, so that's roughly 116,000.
And that was connected and ready to run?
That's turnkey. Yep, I didn't have to do anything else after that.
Were you able to get the REIT benefit or the additional benefits there from USDA or the equip costs?
We've applied for the Reef Grant, and unfortunately, it's all based on a point system, if you've ever been around grants or not. For us, we're not going to find out until June. So, on a point system, we've already built ours. We get more points since we have installed it already. You kind of need to finance it as though you're not going to get the grant. But we're hoping we can get it. It's a pretty big chunk of change right there.
And on your ground mount, is it the one that rotates with the sun, or is it stabilized stationary?
It's stationary at a 30 degree angle. It's in a residential area, so I didn't want it really high up to keep the neighbors happy.
And how many square foot is your house?
It's 2,400 square foot.
Yep. About this time last year, he asked if we participated in the energy district's program like this. And about a year ago, probably in March, I think, we went to Calmer. They had Winneshiek Energy Districts, same thing as this, and we participated in that. That's kind of what got us started anyway.
Did you do any work besides the solar? No? Okay. All right. That was the one for you. Any other questions we got here on?
Did you have any problems installing it, whether it's going to be on the roof or on the ground?
I assume that was for me.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I went with ground just because it's easier to get to and have the room for it. And our roof is not we don't really have a east-west, north-south axis on our roof, so we went with ground mount that way too.
For us, the ground mount was actually cheaper because if you put it on the roof, you need to know what your snow load's going to be and how much your rafters can hold. So for us, I looked at putting it on the roof, just get it out of the way off the ground. I don't want tractors backing into it when we're going to pump out manure for that reason. So if you were to build a barn today and put it on the roof, it was gonna be 20 grand more. So for us, the ground mount was the easiest, cheapest way to do it.
Clark, what was the cost of your system?
Is $25,000. Is a little over around $3 a watt. Another system had it for about $2.80 a watt, but I didn't like the configuration on the ground for that one.
Now, is that a net cost or?
That's the entire cost to install it, hook it up to your
So that doesn't include any deduction for your tax?
no, that's, yeah. And with the taxes, it's tax credits about 48% of the cost.
Did you guys have any trouble with the Iowa tax credit? And that was something I forgot to mention in the presentation, was that the tax credit for the Iowa solar panels ones, it is capped. So you've got to get your application in the door, because there's only a certain amount per year that they do that. And if you are in and you're accepted, they'll roll you over to next year, but of course, you'd like to get solar tax credit this year rather than next. So you guys want to just talk about that?
Yeah, I sent in the tax credit request in like June. It didn't show up, and I didn't get it back until about November. There's about one person working on it, and they're just getting swamped with applications. So.
Same thing. All right. All right. Yeah.
Clark, you talked about connection fees. What, do you have a monthly connection fee then to,
If you look on your, I have a line, and it has a 34.5 cent per day connection fee. So it's on your regular phone, your energy bill right now, and that's the only thing I'm paying right now. If I'm overproducing.
if you're overproducing?
Right. I banked up until December, and I've used that up in December, and then last month I used up the very last of the bank, and so then I used more than what I actually produced, and so it went up to $170, and this month is $140, but I expect to start going back down again because we've been producing pretty good lately.
So, you throw numbers there, like per month, what is your charge per month to be hooked up to the grid?
If hooked up to the grid and I'm generating more than what I'm getting back, it's about $9 to $11 a month, depending on how long the billing month is.
Okay, and that's a fee that's going to be on you as long as you're connected to the grid.
That's correct.
Is that considered to be a maintenance fee then for Alliance?
That's Alliance.
Okay.
Good.
He laughed. He laughed.
That's not a solar specific fee, it's a basic service charge, it's a fee that we all pay for our meters.
Yeah,
So if you look at your bill, like $15 of your bill is, or $9 to $15, it's called a basic service charge. So he's not paying that because of solar, like we all pay it, it just doesn't go away with solar. No amount of solar will make that go away.
So it's not because you have a bi-directional meter?
Exactly, the meter's free.
No, so some people call that fixed charge the meter charge.
Right.
So that meter charge is going to be there regardless of whether or not you have a solar panel or not. And there is an additional charge for having a bi-directional meter.
Okay.
Maybe John Colombi, I think you could
Yep.
talk.
And John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Allen McKee, Clayton County, and REC is the same way. I know that your fixed charge is probably a little bit higher. Is it $30 a month? 20?
It's $30.
$30 a month. And that's going to be a fee that's there in addition to your energy charge, regardless whether or not you are, like solar or not.
Yeah, that's solar or non-solar. And I guess, a lot of people, a good example I'd point out would be some folks that have cabins in Harper's Ferry come over from Mid-America, and they have 40 people per mile of line, and they come over to Harper's to their second home, and then they go, why is the service charge more? And I said, well, folks, we got 3 people per mile of line. So there is some subsidizing going on with more people per mile of line. So that's why when you look at your service, and there's a lot of Allen McKee folks in your REC, we're at $30, and our studies basically tell us that we really should be pushing $47 to $48, but we try to not do that because doesn't look like or sound like a very acceptable fee. But our solar interconnects, basically it's a $50 application fee, and there's no meter cost other than our basic service charge.
Want to talk some finance?
I got one for you. I sent out, the Iowa Solar Energy Association sent out an email about a month ago, and they had some meetings down at the Capitol. I believe the Iowa tax credit is set to sunset this year. And I didn't hear anything from them saying that that they had gotten anything pushed to extend it. I may be wrong on that, but again, this was from ASETA, so I'm assuming that it's true, and I haven't heard anything back from them saying that they've gotten it extended. So
That's certainly something to keep an eye on. I know that there is a proposal for extending and lifting the cap on the Iowa tax credit. So
squeaky wheel thing, if you call in and your representatives.
Yeah.
They were gonna, 2 years ago, the governor was going to remove the low interest loan program in Iowa, and I know a whole bunch of people that called in, because all my customers did, and complained. They had actually laid off Bill, I believe, and they cut the other person down, and after everybody called into the Capitol and complained, they rehired them. So squeaky wheel does get the grease.
On the tax credits, do you know if those can carry forward if you can't use it all in one?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
What's the time limit on that, you know? 20 years?
You look back
How
for a
many?
year and look forward for 20.
It's 3, and I believe it's 3 on a homeowner. It's 20 on a business. I believe it's 3 on a federal is 3 on a individual.
No, federal is 20.
Yeah, you can carry forward 20. What's interesting about the federal credit too is you can actually
Stand
carry.
up, Rocky, so-
Yeah, sorry. So the federal you can carry that forward up to 20 years. What's interesting about the federal credit that's unique with the federal credit is you can actually carry it back a year. So you can file these credits. They're not refundable credits, so you have to actually have the tax liability to offset. Like you have to owe taxes. And that's less than attractive in some cases, right? Except that, and the reason is like banks, for example, won't necessarily view that as cash flow. Like you're avoiding a cost, you're not getting like a check, per se. But if you file an amendment against last year's taxes, which you're able to do with the federal ITC, you actually will get a check from the money you've already paid. So that's an interesting thing to bring up to your bank if they shoot it down because of cash flow, like, and they don't view a tax credit as cash flow. Some banks do, some banks are better about it.
All right, well, speaking of banks, we're going to talk to a banker.
Hi, I'm Elaine Funky with Community Savings Bank, and I wanted to let you know, you saw it briefly on one of the slides. It mentioned a 0% loan through the Iowa Energy Center. So basically the way that works is you're going to look at the total cost of the project and what you need to borrow. The Iowa Energy Center can provide 50% of that loan at 0%. The other 50% you would be at whatever rates and terms are available with your lender. And they'll go with an amortization of up to 20 years. So the first step, it's called the Alternate Energy Revolving Loan Program. And if you Google the Iowa Energy Center, it's a very easy website to navigate. It has all the information there about the program and how to apply for the loan. The first step is, of course, to get your project put together, gather your estimates and your plans, and then you'll fill out their technical application and submit it to the Iowa Energy Center. They're going to evaluate your project based on its technical value and whether it's likely to meet the energy goals and savings that you're hoping for. If your project is less than $25,000, they'll take a look at your application right away. If your project is greater than $25,000, they're evaluating those on a quarterly basis. So you may have to wait a while or be aware of your deadlines to file your application, which is January, April, July, and October 31st quarterly. They're going to review your application and look at the payback analysis to see whether it's likely to achieve the benefits you're hoping for, and then they'll provide, if they approve your application for the project, they'll provide your lender with a letter that says you've been approved for the project. They're not approving you for financing. You have to apply for your loan through your lender and be credit worthy for the loan amount that you want to obtain. And you'll make those arrangements through your lender. When it comes to closing on your loan, the Iowa Energy Center will provide your lender with the 50% that you're borrowing, and your lender will provide the other half. You pay your lender back, and they divide your payment up 50-50 between the Iowa Energy Center loan and the loan with your lender. It is possible, if you're doing other improvements with your project, perhaps you're going to borrow some for those, and the Iowa Energy Center does allow you to borrow more on the bank side of the loan to complete those projects. So, and this happens sometimes, so it may end up that 60% of your payment is going to go to your bank loan, 40% to the Iowa Energy Center. That 40% of your payment represents their half of the loan, and the first 40% to your lender represents their half of the loan on your project, and the other percentage is the extra that you borrowed for your other improvements. You cannot pay off the interest-bearing loan first. That's a violation of the program. So it will be up to your lender to pay it back in a pro rata portion. You can, of course, come in every year with your tax savings and pay your loan down faster, and that's where the real savings are. There are some reports that will have to be made. Once your project is complete, the Iowa Energy Center will want to report within 30 days, and then there's an annual report that you submit until your loan is paid off. That's basically it. Anybody have any questions about how that all works?
So is that competitive? That those loan applications, are they competitive, or are there limits on who gets it? Who gets
So
loans?
with the Iowa Energy Center, they do have limited funds. So they're evaluating your project based on its viability. If they approve your project, your lender is going to approve your loan. They're the ones that are going to determine what kind of loan and what kind of loan terms you're going to have. So if you're a residential consumer, you might be refinancing your mortgage loan, or you might be taking out a home equity loan. So your loan terms are going to be based on that. If you're a farmer or a business, you're going to be working with your lender on some type of commercial or ag loan, and whatever terms are available for that situation. Did I answer your question?
What is it if you didn't go through the route of the 0% interest for half of it? If you just go to the bank and want to get a loan for the project, what kind of hurdles is that?
Well, it would be basically the same thing, because you're going to be applying for a loan, and 100% of your loan is going to be interest-bearing as opposed to only 50%.
And are you guys making those kinds of loans?
Yes, we do. We have. Anyone else?
Great, thanks guys. I think we're going to wrap up a little early today. So I'm just curious, we do have solar tours going on after this. How many are interested in going to see a home with solars? Okay. How many of you guys are interested in looking at the farm? All right, so I think our panelists will stick around. If you've got questions you want to ask us, certainly can. Otherwise, you can go check out the expo again, talk to the solar contractors. And we'll plan to head out to the tours 2:15. Okay. Yeah, oh, one more question.
Does the, do you have contact information on the bank or on the end of the program?
Yes.
Lenders?
Yes, you can come see me if you want.
Okay.
Hey, thanks again, everybody, for coming. Let's thank Clayton County Energy.